Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Pocket Perspectives podcast. My name's Tanisha Gray, I'm your host, and today we are sat down with Arlyne from Roots to Fruits, which is a financial wellness company dedicated to helping individuals and businesses gain confidence in managing money. Today we're going to discuss her journey, Roots to Fruits, and the collaboration with IE Hub, and also break down financial wellness into simple, practical steps. So, thank you very much, Arlene, for being here. Lovely to meet you.
Lovely to be here. Thank you for inviting me.
Yeah, no problem at all. I think it's going to be a really good episode. So to kick it off, would you mind telling us a little bit about yourself and also what is Roots to Fruits?
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm the founder of Roots to Fruits. I'm also a qualified accountant. So I like all things finance. And yeah, so Roots to Fruits is essentially something that was birthed in the pandemic. And it was from seeing the people around me needing some support to manage their finances. So what started as me and my parents in like their back garden and just supporting them with paying off their mortgage quicker turned into my mom asking me to help my aunt, which led to church like groups and then Zoom webinars. And all of a sudden, we've got a company where we are supporting thousands of people across the country to feel empowered to manage their finances.
hmm Amazing. I think I love how it kind of came naturally and it just kind of built up and it wasn't like, I want to start something, but what am I going to do? Like, I love how natural it was.
Yeah, it
So
was literally something where it's like, okay, I saw a need and then it just grew from there. Definitely something that it felt like a purpose.
yeah, love it. I love it. So what would you say is the was the major turning point that made you transition from, being the accountant to then founding Roots to Fruits?
Yeah, so I did both for a while actually. So during the pandemic is when I started, so 2020, and then in
hmm
2021, I told my employer at the time, GiftGaff, that I'm doing these Zoom webinars on the side, and they said, "Well, can you do them in-house as well?"
Oh.
So I then did a whole program with them around financial wellness, and it was linked to mental health and
hmm
all the other programs that they were doing. We had different quarters. Some of them it was around fitness, and some of it was around kind of mind, body, soul. Whereas I focused on financial wellness. So I delivered all these workshops, a little bit of one-to-ones internally in the company, and then we
hmm
prepared a pack so people know where to go to for information. So that then turned into I've got my day job as a finance manager, accounting, and I've also got within the company and um, externally as well, I was supporting people with that. And I only left my full-time role end of 2023 once I knew what we're doing with Rooster Fruits, who are we
hmm
serving, and that is underserved communities, and how do we get to them? How can we make sure that this business survives? So it wasn't an overnight thing. I really took my time in understanding how we are going to achieve the mission.
Yeah, and it must be such a rewarding place to work as something to found, so like a vocation essentially, because you're helping so many people.
Yes, it really is rewarding. And when you hear, there's some people that I've never met before, but they said that, they attend all the online workshops, or we supported them to finish off paying off a massive bit of debt. And I had no idea that the amount of impact that we have made, in
hmm
the past 4 years. So it definitely means a lot, and it's definitely rewarding.
Amazing. I absolutely love it. So I imagine with founding any kind of company, there was challenges. Would you mind sharing kind of what challenges you did face, especially at the start?
Yes, I mean, it still feels like this is still a challenge, which
hmm
is always, 80% of startups or small businesses fail because of poor cash flow, and
Yeah.
that is really not finding the right amount of income sources, and you're having loads of expenses. So I'm really ambitious as a person, and I that bleeds through into the company in terms of how many people we want to support. Right now, we've got a project where we want to support 10,000 people in 12 months, and
Wow.
also we have all these different other things that we're trying to do, and that doesn't come cheap. So one thing that I feel like a, a lot more founders and startups need support in understanding how to manage their finances and how to bring in more. I don't have to tell you the stats in terms of women receive very little funding from investors, and it's really hard to get money or income from banks as well as a loan if you're not quite established yet. You
Hmm.
essentially need to be established to then get that in your pocket. And yeah, so I think it's still a little bit of a challenge understanding that and having budgets that you really have to stick to, ambition aside. So yeah, that's been one of them. However, coming from a finance background, I think that has really, really helped. So a lot of the decisions that I make, it's with that lens where
Yeah.
before I would stop business owners from spending too much. Now I have to tell myself that. So
It's a kind of like a perfect match though, isn't it, of kind of how you found
yeah.
yourself there. So I love that.
Mhm.
And as we said, there's so many rewarding things, and I think especially being a female founded business, like if a company I'm looking at, for example, say if like a fashion company, and I find out they're female founded, I'm definitely more intrigued and more likely to shop there. So I love all female founded businesses. What would you say has been your most rewarding moment, would you say, since launching?
Oh, to pick one would be crazy. Uh, I think the best, well, one that pops out right now is we had an event last year for International Women's Day in March.
Hmm.
And there we had loads of different speakers, and they were so good. And the day was just filled with positive vibes and
Yeah.
a lot of information at the same time. So people learned, people had a great time, and they
Hmm.
networked as well. And I was just left feeling so good that something that was hard to put together for the organizers, on the day, it just felt so great to feel like we've delivered value, and the feedback also echoed that. So yeah, I
Yeah.
think that's one of my biggest highlights to name, one.
Of course, there must be some every single day, to be fair, and being in the industry that you're in. I know that I
Yeah.
definitely feel it, and 'cause I know we're in similar industries, so I definitely feel that. So to move on to kind of the collaboration between Roots to Fruits and IE Hub, which is how we found ourselves meeting today. How would you say? I mean, first, would you intro the collaboration, what we do, and how we work together, but then also how would you say the two companies align in their missions?
Yes, absolutely. I definitely think that our missions align in terms of supporting people with managing their finances and offering them the transparency and offering them the tools that they need to actually do that. So the collaboration or partnership is that IE Hub have this amazing platform where people can just go in and input information about their finances, really easy to use, and then you can work out what your budget should be. And also, there's a benefits checker, which is so great because that information is sometimes hard to figure out what's missing. So I think the platform is really amazing. And where we come in as a partnership is that we provide coaching for individuals to, like, that human touch that, okay, now we know what you need to spend. How are we going to get there? And also,
Yeah.
how are you going to pay off your debts? And what are your other goals? That accountability, because people really need that. So
Hmm.
that's how the partnership works. So the members that we have loved the tool in terms of using it, and I think it's really seamless and easy to use. So I feel like, yeah, the partnership works really well there, and then our missions to then support as many people as possible really align because now we're giving them all the tools that they need.
Yeah, definitely. And I think I love partner, I say all the time on this podcast, but my favorite part of IE Hub is our partners, and I love that we are able to kind of form like a network and like a web of, we might do different things, but in the same industry, and we can kind of support each other while supporting customers. So, I absolutely love that. How would you say the collaboration helps people feel more confident in managing their finances?
Yeah, so I would say before the tools that we would use are on Excel, and we know that not a lot of people love Excel.
Yeah,
I do,
yeah,
as an accountant, you can imagine,
yeah.
or that it's a little bit limited. Whereas this platform, IE Hub, it is interfacing with your bank account, so you can make these changes. You don't have to go in and input data, and also it just works on its own. So I think that's the thing that is really great in terms of making
Mhm.
sure that we're utilizing the technology that is available and not kind of using the basics.
Yeah, I think it breaks things down for people, doesn't it, and kind of puts it in a way that might be easier to understand, which is what we've
Exactly.
found. So, thinking ahead of the future, I know you've got the 10,000 people that you want to support in a year, which I think is amazing. What kind of impact in terms of the collaboration do you think that we can create together looking forward?
Yes, I mean, once we hit that 10,000 person has been supported, they
Yeah.
feel empowered, they have paid off their debts or whatever savings goal, whatever their financial goal is.
Hmm.
Once they have hit it, then we can, target more people. But yeah, I think
Yeah.
in terms of like the impact that we're trying to make, it's ambitious because a lot of people find this scary, they find it intimidating. They feel like, I'm not a finance person, therefore I can't ever change my circumstances. But if
Hmm.
you can change people's lives, then
Hmm.
that's fantastic. And to do it as you called it, a great network,
Hmm.
even better.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
I find as well a lot of people, especially at IE Hub, we work with a lot of people who are in debt, and a lot of people say, I just wanted to bury my head in the sand. Like I had a lot of shame, guilt,
Mm.
embarrassment, and I just kind of wanted to not read the letters, not answer the door, like just not deal with it. So I love that kind of you guys are here to be like, come on, we can help. Like let's figure this out.
Yeah.
So I think that definitely needs to be vocalized, and hopefully this podcast will definitely help with that. Um, so with that goal, 10,000 people to support in a year, what does that look like in practice? Have you kind of got a plan for, I assume you got a plan for it, but kind of would you walk me through a little bit more of an insight into it?
Yeah, so I mean, we are actually in our fourth month now. We started it end of 2024. But in terms of what it actually looks like, it is
Hmm.
offering workshops to people. So we have monthly workshops. The most we've done are three in 1 month on different subjects. And these are
Hmm.
subjects that we reached out to people to ask, what do you want to learn more about? So, for example, in February, we've already run one on pensions and setting up a SIP. As an accountant, that's what I've been seeing, that a lot of people don't understand
Hmm.
how to take control of their pensions and really understand what is left and what is there for them when they retire.
Yeah.
So that was a really great workshop that we did, and we've got more on different subjects. And those are completely free. People can sign up online, just jump on, and then we deliver that. And then we also offer one-to-one coaching services
Hmm.
where we sit with the individual to really understand what do you need support with and how can we help you get there. And
Yeah.
that's when the tools then come into place, like IE Hub, where they can then identify what their budget needs to be, and we can make sure that we've got visibility of that as well to help them along to actually achieve it. And then
Hmm.
lastly, we've got all these helpful workbooks, Excel documents, videos that we've got on our learning hub and the Roots to Fruits learning place. Yeah, so that's what that looks like, as well as events. So our
Hmm.
next one, we've got Empower Her, which is on the 15th of March. So, like last year, we're going to host it again. And this year is all about growing your wealth. And we've got
Hmm.
amazing speakers that are coming to show us how they have, invested in property, how they've invested in stocks and shares and that sort of thing. So I'm super excited about learning from them as well, and I'm sure our audience will learn from them too.
Amazing. I love that. On a personal one, I just kind of wanted to start learning how to invest because it all just kind of scares me, to be honest. And I recently watched a webinar of kind of like dipping my toe in the water to learn more about it, and it was
Good.
so insightful. So I'm definitely going to come over and personally have a listen and kind of hopefully learn some things. I think it's so important, and it's not something we're taught in school, so we kind of have to actively find it ourselves, don't we?
Yeah, exactly. And I think that first piece is the confidence, as you said. Even myself, it took me a long time to feel like, okay, this is where I can start because your money is at risk. So it's
Mm.
really hard to just go ahead and just start investing in what? There's so many things.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Definitely. Yeah. I feel that one. F With the description of this, I will obviously link everything below that we've spoke about, like all
Brilliant.
the resources. So is that how people get involved by clicking the links below and just try and sign up for whatever they want to?
Exactly, yes. If they want to sign up specifically for the 10,000 people program, they can do that and you'll get a specific link for that.
Hmm.
Why that? It's because you'll have access and information about all the workshops that are coming up. So, because sometimes there's so many emails flying about, but you'll
Hmm.
get like the email that you need to know which workshops are going to be coming up. You
Okay.
are assigned to a coach as well who will just check in on you to see if you need any support with any of the services. So yeah, that's
Hmm.
somewhere that they can start. And then yeah, we're on Eventbrite as well if people love to scroll on there to see anything that is coming up.
Well, that sounds amazing. I'll link it below. I was just wondering, do you have kind of like a particular demographic that usually comes to you? For example, a lot of people who listen to this podcast are kind of just shy of 30, maybe like the 20 to 30 range. And we find that a lot of people kind of leaving home for the first time, kind of like I was myself a few years ago, not really sure
Mm.
what's going on. You're getting this money now and you don't really know what to do with it. And so that's kind of why we started this podcast. So I was wondering, do you find that younger people come to you just starting out, or would it be quite older people?
Yes, so initially, I was speaking to myself. So when I was in my mid 20s, and now I'm seeing money come in, and honestly, I didn't know how to start the big things. Like now I'm an adult. How do I, jump on the property ladder? What do I need to
Mhm.
be saving up for? How do I do X, Y, Z? So our content information applies to really young adults, so mid 20s through to your 50s and onwards. So for the people that are thinking about, okay, my pension, what do I need to do? There is
Mhm.
content specifically for them, as well as those that are in their 20s that are thinking, okay, I've heard that if I want to have a sizable pension, I need to start now to save just a little bit every month,
Mhm.
rather than, load it at the end. So
Yeah.
yeah, our audience is quite varied. What I'll say is specific is most likely people from underserved communities. I think
Mhm.
probably because that's where I'm from. So a lot of people that are diaspora that have moved to the UK and didn't understand credit scores, didn't understand, the way that the debt system works here and everything else. They attend our workshops to just know what are the basics and how can they give themselves a good foundation.
Yeah, definitely. Well, to be fair, people who were raised and went to school here barely know, because like I said, it's not really taught. So if you're coming into this
Mm.
country, I imagine it's even harder, to
Yeah.
figure that out. So that's amazing that you're able to do that. I love that. So moving on to kind of more general financial wellness, I wonder if I could ask you some questions of some things that our audience might have and that people listening to this, and hopefully you might be able to share some tips. So the first one is many people feel embarrassed or anxious talking about money. I think as well it's kind of like a British thing sometimes. We're quite like, oh no, it's a
Mm.
bit taboo. I don't want to discuss that with you. So why do you think that is, and how do you think we can change it?
Yes, I believe people feel a little bit, as you said, it's the culture. And for example, let's say if you're applying for a role you'll see on that job advert that the salary is competitive. So already we don't know what different companies are offering as just a salary. And then you
Mm-hmm.
enter the job thinking, oh yeah, I'm getting what I'm worth. And then you find out that someone else is getting paid 20% more than you, even though they're doing exactly the same job. We know
Mm-hmm.
about, the gender pay gap, we know about the ethnicity pay gap. So there's a lot of things where it has been built into the system that we don't talk about money.
Mm-hmm.
And also it's a little bit of maybe the keeping up with the Joneses thing, where people wouldn't discuss how much money they have because you want to seem a little bit more well off. You don't want to
Mm-hmm.
seem like, you're struggling, or vice versa as well. So, yeah, there's a lot within the culture that
Mm.
we need to start from home.
Yeah.
I'm always encouraging families, I'm always encouraging parents as well to talk to their children, to talk to their significant other, or even your friends.
Mm-hmm.
Talk to them about what's happening with your finances, you know.
Yeah.
So it then kind of demystifies it a little bit just amongst your friends group. Then if you need actual support, let's say now I'm in debt and I feel really ashamed because I'm at this stage, there isn't that barrier to go and
Yeah.
seek help because you already discuss finances. So it doesn't make it as hard as it
Mm-hmm.
would be if you never talk about finances. So I think, yeah, that's where to start. I hope I answered the question, but because there's
Definitely.
so much to touch on in the system as well as
Mm-hmm.
individuals. There's loads that we can do.
Yeah, yeah, so much. And I think it's very interesting what you said about family, because very early on in this podcast we had Laura Moore on. She's a money influencer, and she was discussing.
Yes.
Do you know Laura?
Yeah, I do.
Yeah, yeah, I love her content, but she was discussing about upbringing and how kind of how your family and parents dealt with money and like kind of the impact it can have on you, and it was so interesting. So I was wondering, do you kind of agree with that, where kind of like money habits can be passed down by generations?
Absolutely, absolutely. I've actually been reading a really good book. It's called Happy Money, and by Ken Honda, and he's talking about how his parents dealt with money, and he can specifically spot certain things within how he manages money, and then it trickles down. But maybe looking at personally for me, how
Mm-hmm.
my parents dealt with money. I was born in Zimbabwe and
Mm-hmm.
there's no credit there. Everything is cash in
Wow.
hand. And also, not a lot of people keep their money in the bank for various reasons.
Mm-hmm.
So, institutions aren't really trusted that much with finances, and
Ah.
everyone has a side hustle as well,
Mm-hmm.
where you've got your main job but you're doing XYZ to earn money. So completely different culture.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where my parents learned how to deal with money through to then moving here. And what I saw is that not really understanding how the debt system works. One parent is like, no, I will never borrow any money. The other is like, right, this is free money. I'm just gonna I'm just gonna buy this, and I'll pay it later. It'll be fine.
Uh-huh.
So yeah, I can definitely spot sometimes in some of the money decisions that I make that I think this one's from my mom. I think this
Ah.
is from my dad, because then you can just start to see like your relationship with money there. But I really encourage people to read this book, Happy Money, because you can then spot like which type of spender are you. He
Ah.
profiles different people. Like if you're a gambler, you're so you can take risk really
Mm-hmm.
easily, and maybe you're a compulsive spender, you're a compulsive saver, or you're a
Mm-hmm.
saver and then you just spend it all and then you have to start all over again. Do you
Yeah.
worry about money quite a lot? Yeah, there's about seven that he profiles,
Wow.
and there's a really good way of seeing how you can assess like, okay, how did my parents deal with money, and
Mm-hmm.
how does that impact me? Yeah, so I think, yeah, there's loads people could do, because once you then understand what your triggers are, then you know how to
Yeah.
deal with it. And it's not a blame thing either. It's not a, oh yeah, because you guys did
Yeah.
XYZ, that's why I treat money this way. But It's more just understanding how you do it, and
Yeah.
hopefully you can pass that on to your loved ones too.
Yeah, definitely. I think at the end of the day, I mean, I did psychology at uni, so I love to bring in psychology into
Amazing.
to what I do. Yeah, so I love all things like that. I'll definitely read that book. But I think at
Yes.
the end of the day, a lot of us were a product of our environment, aren't we? So, yeah, like you said, you
Yes.
can't blame people for the certain environment they were in that made them make certain decisions, and same for ourselves. So, completely agree with that. Definitely. So another one, which I think is quite a tricky question, but what does financial wellness really mean? Because personally, I think it kind of depends on the person. I don't know, but I'd love to hear your take on it.
So, financial wellness for me means that having a sense of control over your financial situation.
Mhm,
So, it's not to say that things that you don't expect are going to happen. It's more
mhm,
that you have all the tools, information, savings, insurance, that sort of thing set
mhm.
up for anything that might happen in life. A
Yeah,
curveball might be thrown at you. So we always hear about, these tech startups or other companies having mass layoffs. What will happen if you are made redundant? Then you need to have your emergency fund where you've got three to
yeah.
6 months saved just in case you start looking for a new job.
Mhm,
Someone can get ill. What happens then? You've got your insurance or you've got your money saved up, or good things as well, like you're planning for holidays. You've got it saved up. You don't feel that rush of, oh my God, we need to not eat anything 1 month just so we can go enjoy
yeah,
ourselves the next month. So it's just having a sense of control. And that all starts with the dreaded B word, which is budgeting. But that's just you understanding what are your finances looking like? Do you have a plan? What are your
yeah.
goals and how are you going to achieve them? So it's a sense of having control over your finances essentially.
100%. And that's why we really encourage people to budget. And I know you said it's like the dreaded word, and people do want to kind of like just put the blinkers on and not really look at it. Be like, oh, I don't need to know, but it's so important to know.
Yeah.
Just so you have got that kind of sense of relief. And even if you look at the numbers and you think, oh God, I don't like the look of that, then at least you can kind of like, what can I do about it? So
Yes.
definitely,
That's where it
definitely.
all starts. If you don't know what the numbers are, how are you going to fix them? Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah, it's the perfect way to start. So it leads us in greatly to the next question. So if someone is looking to start, a complete beginner, what would you say is the first step? Obviously, I assume it would be that budget and word.
Yes. First thing to do is to sign up to IE Hub and sign up to Rooster Fruit Services. No, I'm joking. But yes, first start off with just opening up your bank app or pull out your bank statement and start to write down, what are my expenses? Do I even know how much I'm spending on XYZ? Put it
Yeah.
all down as these are the fixed expenses, meaning I have to pay these off. And then what
Mhm.
is left, anything else that you spend on a regular basis. So now you understand, okay, in total, this is what I have to spend every month. Okay,
Mhm.
so how much is coming in as well?
Yeah.
Does that tally up? Am I spending less than what comes in?
Mhm.
Great. Now I've got savings that I can, put away each month. Let me set up a savings account, a regular savings account. All of a sudden, you have a budget and it's not as complicated as, people might feel that it would be. It's that
Yeah.
first step to just sit down and have a look at their situation.
Yeah. I love that. Definitely a great step. So if someone's feeling really overwhelmed by it all and thinks, oh, I can start, but I don't know if I can carry on, what would you say?
Oh yeah, it can be overwhelming, even for me as well. And I think there are certain days that you can think, all right, do I have the bandwidth for this? Can I genuinely sit down? So maybe it should be done on a weekend where you feel a little bit more relaxed and you're not stressed out about your day at work. Also, there could be someone that you trust that you can sit down and do this exercise with them, whether
Yeah.
that's a partner or a family member, whoever it is, that might help to lighten the load. They might tell you
Mhm.
that they've got a great system that they never told you about in the first place, and now
Yeah.
you get to share. And so, yeah, that's the support, or seek out actual professional support
Mhm.
for someone that can help you through it and talk you through what you need to do. And reach out to your bank as well. They've got great, departments that are dedicated to help people understand their financial situation.
Yeah.
But if it feels overwhelming, if it feels like this is a lot, then maybe take a step back. Just write down what is your goal before you're looking at any numbers. And then
Mhm.
okay, step number one, I
Yeah.
understand that. And then step number two is then doing what I said earlier in terms of understanding your finances.
Yeah.
But the key thing for myself is I notice when I'm in the mood for something. For example, like if I feel like the gym is going to be really, really hard this morning, I always tell myself, don't go now, then go in the afternoon where
Yeah.
you'll actually enjoy it, where you've got the
Yeah.
capacity for it. And yeah,
Mhm.
you know yourself, but that's not a reason not to do it. Just find
Yeah.
a better time to do it.
Yeah. I love that. I think of it as like a battery. You just need to recharge for a little bit and then go again.
Yes.
Yeah, I love it. So thank you so much for joining. Is there anything else that you want to discuss whilst we're here?
No, I mean, thank you for having me on the platform. It's really important for people to talk about finances or to hear from experts, or just generally just to hear from other people, how do they do
Yeah.
things. So this is a great podcast for people to just learn like helpful hints and tips. I mean, from myself, just please keep an eye out on what we're doing. Again, we
Mhm.
mentioned the events, and we also have a podcast if people want to check that out. So, yeah, really
Amazing.
great
Yeah.
to speak to you today.
No, it was absolutely amazing. One of my favorite episodes. I think I've learnt a lot. I think I could chat all day, but unfortunately we have to cut it at some point. But yeah, like I said, I will link everything I can down below so people know exactly where to find you. And then I can't wait to see how you do with your goal. I'm absolutely sure you'll smash it, and you'll be able to help 10,000 people this year. So thank you very much for joining again, and for all listeners, thank you very much for listening, and we will see you soon. Bye.
Bye.